Here's something that most people will never admit out loud, and I'm gonna say it anyway, because somebody has to. Getting a paycheck feels incredible for about 5 minutes. You see that deposit notification, you feel that little rush, maybe you even do a little happy dance in the kitchen. And then reality hits, the rent's due, the credit card minimum is staring you down, the groceries aren't gonna buy themselves. And somehow, without even trying, that paycheck that was supposed to change everything just disappears again. If you've ever made decent money and still felt broke, if you've ever wondered how people with similar salaries seem to be building real wealth while you're just surviving, I need you to hear this. It was never about how much you make. It was always about what you do in the first moments after you get paid. And what most Americans do in those moments, it's costing them their financial future, one paycheck at a time. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be that way. Not anymore. Because today, I'm giving you the exact routine, step by step, that changes everything. A system so simple you can start it this payday, and so powerful that 5 years from now, you won't even recognize your bank account. This isn't another generic budgeting lecture. This is the real playbook, the one the wealthy actually use, and it starts right now. Let me ask you something real quick, and I want you to be honest with yourself here. Have you ever gotten paid, felt that little rush of excitement seeing your bank account go up, and then, 2 days later, wondered where it all went? Yeah, I thought so. You're not alone, and honestly, you're not even close to being the only one dealing with this. In fact, according to a 2025 survey by Lending Club, nearly 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and that includes people making 6 figures. Let that sink in for a second. 6 figures, gone, just like that. The problem isn't how much you're making, it's what happens the moment that money hits your account, and that's exactly what we're gonna fix today. Here's something nobody talks about at the dinner table, and honestly, your school sure didn't teach you this either. The American financial system, the whole thing, is literally designed to separate you from your paycheck as fast as humanly possible. Think about it. The second you get paid, you've got landlords, credit card companies, subscription services, car dealerships, and even your favorite apps all lined up with their hands out. It's like running a gauntlet every single payday. And most people, they just hand over their money without even thinking twice. They swipe, they tap, they click confirm, and then 3 weeks later they're eating ramen and praying the next paycheck comes in before the rent's due. Sound familiar? Now, I'm not here to make you feel bad. That's not my style. But I do want you to understand something that took me way too long to figure out myself. There's a massive difference between earning money and actually keeping money. Most people are really good at the first part. They show up, they clock in, they hustle, they grind. But when it comes to keeping that money, that's where things fall apart fast. And here's the wild part. It's not a willpower problem. It's not that you're lazy or irresponsible. It's that you were never given a system. A real, practical, step-by-step system for what to do the moment your paycheck lands. That's the missing piece, and that's what we're building together right now. Let's talk about what I call the paycheck trap. And trust me, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The trap works like this. You get paid, you feel good, you spend on things that feel urgent or necessary, and by the time you think about saving or investing, there's barely anything left. So you tell yourself, I'll do better next month. But next month comes, and the exact same thing happens. And the month after that, and the month after that. Before you know it, 5 years have passed. You've earned hundreds of thousands of dollars, and your net worth is sitting at basically zero. This isn't a hypothetical. This is the reality for millions of Americans right now, in 2026, with inflation still biting and interest rates doing their thing. Here's a number that's gonna hit different. The average American spends about $1,297 per month on non-essential purchases. That's stuff like dining out, streaming services, impulse buys on Amazon at 2 a.m., and yeah, that Starbucks habit that somehow costs $200 a month. Now listen, I'm not saying you gotta cut out every little joy in your life. Life's too short for that. But what I am saying is that most people have absolutely no idea where their money is actually going. They've never sat down and looked at their bank statement line by line. And when you don't know where your money's going everywhere except where it should. Think about someone like Marcus, a 32-year-old teacher in Ohio making about $52,000 a year. On paper, that's decent money. But Marcus was always broke by the 15th. He had Spotify, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and 3 other subscriptions he forgot he even signed up for. He was eating out 4 or 5 times a week because he was too tired to cook. His credit card balance was slowly creeping up every month, and every time he got paid, the money just vanished. Marcus isn't a bad guy. He's actually really smart, but he had zero system for his money. The moment he built one, and I mean a real structured routine, everything changed within 90 days. We're gonna build that same system for you right now. One of the biggest lies we've been sold as Americans is that budgeting means restriction. That if you start tracking your money and making a plan, you're somehow going to be miserable, eating sad salads and never having fun again. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The people I know who are the most financially free, the ones who travel when they want, buy what they want, and never stress about bills, they all have one thing in common. They have a system. Not a perfect life, not a crazy income, just a system. And their system starts the moment their paycheck hits. That's the real secret that the wealthy don't advertise on Instagram. Now, let's get into the psychology of this for a second, because this part is crucial. Your brain, yes, your perfectly good, hardworking brain, is actually wired to spend money, not save it. It's called present bias, and it basically means that your brain values immediate rewards way more than future ones. So when you get paid and you see $3,000 sitting in your account, your brain doesn't think future security. It thinks new sneakers. It thinks, let's go out this weekend. It thinks, I deserve this. And you know what? You do deserve good things, but you also deserve financial freedom. And those two things don't have to be in conflict, as long as you've got a plan that accounts for both. Here's the reality check that most financial gurus are too afraid to give you, probably because it doesn't sell courses. Ready? The gap between where you are financially and where you want to be is almost never about income. It's almost always about behavior. Behavior around money, behavior around spending, behavior around what you do or don't do in the first 24 hours after you get paid. That window, those first 24 hours after payday, is where your entire financial future is being decided. Every single month. And right now, for most people, that window is being wasted. But not for you, not after today. So here's where we are. You now understand the trap, you understand the psychology, and you understand that the problem was never really about how much you make. It was always about what happens the moment the money shows up. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, this makes total sense, but what exactly am I supposed to do? Good. That's exactly the right question to be asking right now, because the answer isn't complicated. It isn't some Wall Street secret, and it doesn't require a finance degree. What it requires is a routine. A simple, repeatable, powerful routine that you run every single time you get paid, before you spend a single dollar on anything else. And that routine, we're about to break it down step by step. Alright, so now we're getting into the good stuff. The part that actually changes your life. And I want you to pay close attention here, because what I'm about to walk you through isn't theory. It isn't some abstract financial concept that sounds great on paper, but falls apart the moment real life shows up. This is a real, proven, step-by-step routine that works whether you're making $35,000 a year or $135,000 a year. The amount doesn't matter as much as the order, and that word, order, is everything. Because most people do things completely backwards when they get paid, and that's exactly why they stay stuck. So grab a notepad, open your notes app, do whatever you gotta do, because we're mapping this out right now. Step 1 is what I call survival first. The very first thing you do when your paycheck hits is make sure your minimum debt payments are covered, automatically. We're talking credit card minimums, car payments, student loans, any buy now pay later stuff you've got going on. Now, I'm not saying throw everything at your debt right now. We'll get to that strategy later. Right now, this is just about staying afloat and protecting your credit score, because your FICO score, that 3-digit number that follows you everywhere, is built on two main things: payment history and credit utilization. Those two factors alone make up 65% of your score. Miss one payment, and you're looking at serious damage that can take years to repair. So set up autopay today, not tomorrow, today. Step 1.5. And yes, I'm throwing in a bonus step right here because this one is that important. Automate everything. I know, you've probably heard this before, but hear me out, because most people automate the wrong things, or automate nothing at all. The goal here is to remove yourself from the equation entirely, because here's the truth about human willpower. It's unreliable, it has bad days, it gets tired. It gives in when you've had a rough week and you're scrolling Amazon at midnight, but an automated transfer, that thing doesn't have feelings, it doesn't get tempted by a flash sale. It just moves your money where it needs to go, every single time, without asking for your permission or your mood. Set it up once and let it run your financial life like clockwork. Step 2 is your monthly operating budget. Basically, the money you need to keep the lights on and food in the fridge. And I want you to get specific here, because I spend like $2,000 a month on stuff isn't a budget, that's a guess. Sit down and list out your actual numbers. Rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, gas, insurance, phone bill, internet. Add it all up. Let's say it comes to $2,800 a month. That's your baseline, that's the floor. And I'd actually recommend keeping a small buffer on top of that. Maybe $300 to $400 extra, just so you're not white-knuckling it every month. Now here's where people mess up. They confuse this operating budget with their emergency fund. These are two completely different buckets, and mixing them up is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Step 3 is building your emergency fund, and in 2026, this one is more important than ever. Most financial advisors used to say 3 months of expenses. But with the economic volatility we've seen, inflation, layoffs, AI disrupting entire industries, I'd push that target to 4 to 6 months. So if your monthly needs run about $2,800, you're looking at a target of somewhere between $11,200 and $16,800. Now, if that number makes you want to close this video, don't. Set an intermediate goal first. Get to $5,000, then $8,000, then the full amount. And where do you keep this money? In a high-yield savings account, somewhere like Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Alibank, or SoFi, which are currently paying around 3 to 3.5% APY, way better than the 0.11% you're getting at your big traditional bank. Step 4 is where things start getting exciting. Investing for retirement, and the best place to start is your employer-sponsored 401k, especially if your company offers a match, because an employer match is literally free money. If your employer matches up to 4% of your salary, and you're not contributing at least 4%, you are leaving free money on the table every single payday. That's not a metaphor. That's actual dollars your employer is willing to give you that you're turning down. In 2026, the 401k contribution limit is $20,500 if you're under 50 and $30,500 if you're 50 or older. A solid goal is to contribute at least 10 to 15% of your paycheck here. And if you invest consistently in something like a target date fund or an S&P 500 index fund, the compounding over 30 to 40 years is genuinely life-changing. Step 5 is tackling your high-interest debt. And by high interest, I mean anything above 15% APR. The two most popular strategies here are the avalanche method and the snowball method. The avalanche method has you paying off the highest interest rate debt first. Mathematically, it's the smartest move. So if you've got a credit card at 24% APR, a car loan at 7%, and student loans at 4%, you attack that credit card first hard. The snowball method, on the other hand, has you paying off the smallest balance first, regardless of interest rate. It's not as mathematically optimal, but psychologically, it feels incredible to knock out a debt completely. Dave Ramsey swears by it. The truth is, the best method is the one you'll actually stick to. Try both, see which one keeps you motivated, and go all in. Step 6 is investing beyond your 401k. And this is where regular people start building real wealth. After you've got your 401k match covered, the next move is to max out your Roth IRA. In 2026, that's $7,500 per year if you're under 50, or $8,600 if you're 50 and older. The Roth IRA is incredible because your money grows completely tax-free. You pay taxes on the money going in, but when you retire and pull it out, every single dollar of growth is yours, no taxes owed. Inside your Roth IRA, consider growth-oriented ETFs like VUG, QQQ, or even individual stocks you believe in long-term. After maxing your Roth, if you've still got money to invest, open a taxable brokerage account through something like Fidelity or Schwab, and stick to simple, low-cost index funds like VOO or SPY. Step 7 is the one that separates people who are comfortable from people who are genuinely wealthy, and that's building multiple streams of income. According to research from INC magazine, 65% of self-made millionaires had at least 3 income streams before they hit their first million. 3, not 1, not their salary alone, 3. Now I'm not telling you to work 80 hours a week, that's not sustainable and honestly not necessary. But dedicating just 3 to 5 hours a week to a side income can add an extra $500 to $2,500 a month to your financial picture. Think freelancing in your skill set, dividend-paying stocks like Realty Income or Coca-Cola, a YouTube channel, an Etsy shop, tutoring, or even investing in REITs like VNQ for passive real estate income without buying a single property. Now here's what makes this entire 7-step routine so powerful. It's not just about the individual steps, it's about the order. Because when you follow this sequence every single payday, something remarkable starts to happen. Your stress around money starts to shrink, your bank account starts to grow, your confidence goes up, and that feeling of dread you used to get every time you checked your balance, it slowly starts turning into excitement. Because you're no longer just reacting to your money, you're directing it. You're telling every dollar exactly where to go before it has a chance to disappear. And that shift in mindset, from reactive to intentional, from surviving to building, that's where the real transformation begins. But knowing the steps and actually making them work long term, that's a whole different conversation. Okay, so here's where everything we've talked about starts to compound. And I mean that literally, because up until now, we've been talking about defense, protecting your paycheck, covering your bases, stopping the bleeding. And that stuff is absolutely essential, don't get me wrong, but defense alone doesn't build wealth. Defense keeps you from losing. What we're about to talk about is what actually moves you forward. What puts you in a position where one day you wake up, check your phone, and realize your money made more money while you were sleeping than some people make in a week at their job. That's not a fantasy. That's compounding. That's investing. That's what we're unlocking right now, together, in 2026. Let's start with the most powerful force in personal finance. And no, it's not your salary, it's not your bonus, it's not even your side hustle, it's compound interest. Albert Einstein allegedly called it the 8th wonder of the world. And honestly, whoever said it was absolutely right. Here's how it works in plain English. You invest money, that money earns returns, and then those returns earn returns on top of returns. It snowballs, it multiplies. It grows in ways that feel almost illegal once you see the numbers. For example, if you invest just $500 a month starting at age 25, averaging an 8% annual return in something like the S&P 500, by the time you're 65, you're sitting on roughly $1.7 million. Same $500 a month, but starting at 35, you end up with around $745,000. That 10-year difference cost you nearly $1 million. Let that hit. Now let's talk about where exactly to put your money for maximum growth in 2026, because not all investments are created equal, and the wrong choices can cost you decades of progress. For most people, the absolute foundation should be broad market index funds, things like VOO, which tracks the S&P 500, or VTI, which covers the entire US stock market. These funds give you instant diversification across hundreds of companies: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Google, all in one single investment. They have incredibly low expense ratios, sometimes as low as 0.03%, which means Wall Street is barely touching your returns. Warren Buffett himself has said that for most everyday investors, a simple S&P 500 index fund will outperform nearly every actively managed fund over the long run. If it's good enough for Buffett's advice, it's good enough for us. But here's where you can add a little extra horsepower to your portfolio. Growth ETFs. If you've got your index fund foundation locked in and you want to lean into higher growth potential, consider adding something like QQQ, which tracks the Nasdaq 100 and is heavily weighted in technology, or VUG, Vanguard's growth ETF, which focuses on large-cap US companies with strong growth characteristics. Now, these come with more volatility. They can drop harder in a downturn, but over a long time horizon of 10, 20, 30 years, the growth potential is significant. Think of your portfolio like a house. Your index funds are the foundation and the walls, solid, stable, essential. Your growth ETFs are the upgrades, the extra bedroom, the renovated kitchen. They add value, but only if the foundation is already solid. Let's talk about real estate for a second, because a lot of people think building a real estate portfolio means saving up a 20% down payment on a rental property and becoming a landlord. And while that's one path, it's definitely not the only one. RE8, Real Estate Investment Trust, lets you invest in real estate the same way you'd buy a stock. You can start with literally $10. Some of the most solid REITs out there right now include Realty Income, Ticker O, which pays monthly dividends and has raised its dividend for decades straight. There's also Prologis, which owns industrial warehouses, the kind that Amazon and FedEx rent out. And VNQ, Vanguard's real estate ETF, gives you broad exposure to the entire real estate sector in one fund. Real estate in your portfolio adds diversification, income, and a hedge against inflation, all without ever dealing with a leaky faucet at 2 a.m. Now let's get into dividends, because this is one of the most underrated wealth-building tools that regular people completely overlook. Dividend investing is simple. You buy shares in companies that pay you a portion of their profits on a regular basis, usually every quarter. Companies like Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, and Apple all pay dividends. And here's where it gets really interesting. When you reinvest those dividends automatically, a strategy called DRIP, Dividend Reinvestment Plan, you're essentially buying more shares with your earnings, which then pay more dividends, which buy more shares. It's a self-feeding wealth machine. A portfolio of $200,000 in solid dividend stocks, yielding around 3%, generates $6,000 a year, $500 a month, in completely passive income. No extra work, no extra hours, just your money doing its job. Here's something that separates truly wealthy people from everyone else. And it's not their stock picks or their real estate deals. It's their relationship with time in the market versus timing the market. Most people sit on the sidelines waiting for the perfect moment to invest. They say things like, I'll invest when the market calms down, or I'm waiting until after the election, or I'll start next year when things are more stable. And meanwhile, time, the most valuable asset they have, is slipping away. Studies consistently show that time in the market beats timing the market almost every single time. Even if you invested at the absolute worst possible moments historically, right before every major crash, you still came out ahead over a 20-year period. The best time to invest was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Let's talk about the tax game, because keeping more of what you earn is just as important as earning it in the first place. And most Americans are leaving thousands of dollars on the table every single year simply because they don't understand how to use tax-advantaged accounts strategically. Your 401k reduces your taxable income right now. Every dollar you contribute comes out of your paycheck before taxes. Your Roth IRA grows tax-free forever. You pay taxes now, but never again on the growth. An HSA, Health Savings Account, is what some people call the ultimate retirement account. It's triple tax advantaged, meaning contributions are pre-tax, growth is tax-free, and withdrawals for medical expenses are also tax-free. If you've got access to an HSA through a high-deductible health plan, maxing it out in 2026, $4,300 for individuals, $8,550 for families, is one of the smartest financial moves you can make. Now, I want to address something that holds a lot of people back from building real wealth, and that's the fear of investing. The market goes up, the market goes down, the news is always screaming about some crisis or another, and it's easy to feel like investing is just gambling with extra steps. But here's the perspective shift that changes everything. Volatility isn't the enemy, it's actually the opportunity. Every single time the market drops, shares go on sale. When the S&P 500 dropped 34% in March 2020, the people who kept investing, or better yet, bought more, saw their portfolios double and triple in the following years. The people who panicked and sold, they locked in their losses and missed the recovery entirely. The game isn't about avoiding the dips. The game is about staying calm, staying consistent, and trusting the long-term trajectory of the American economy. So here's where we land, and I want you to really sit with this for a moment. Building wealth in 2026 isn't about being lucky. It isn't about having a rich family or getting some incredible break that nobody else gets. It's about making a decision, a real, committed, no excuses decision, to treat every single paycheck as a building block. A brick in the foundation of the life you actually want. The 7-step routine we walked through, the investments we talked about, the tax strategies, the multiple income streams, none of it works without consistency. None of it works if you do it once and forget about it. But if you commit to this system, payday after payday, month after month, something extraordinary starts to happen. Your money stops being a source of stress and starts becoming a source of freedom. And that freedom, that's what we've been building toward this entire time. Alright, we've covered a lot of ground today. And I mean a lot. But here's what I need you to understand before you close this video and go back to your day. Information without action is just entertainment. And I didn't put this together so you could feel good for 20 minutes and then go back to the same patterns that got you here. So let me ask you something. And I want you to really think about this. When was the last time you looked at your bank account and felt genuinely proud of what you saw? When was the last time payday felt like progress instead of just a temporary relief before the bills hit again? Because you deserve better than surviving. You deserve to actually build something. And everything we talked about today, the 7-step routine, the emergency fund, the 401k match, the Roth IRA, the index funds, the multiple income streams, none of it is complicated. None of it requires a finance degree, or a trust fund, or some magical opportunity that only happens to other people. What it requires is a decision, a real one, the kind you make today, not next month, not after the holidays, not when things calm down. Because let's be honest, things never really calm down, do they? So here's my challenge to you right now. This payday, the very next time that deposit hits your account, I want you to run this routine. Step 1, auto pay your minimums. Step 2, cover your necessities. Step 3, feed your emergency fund. Step 4, hit that 401k match. Step 5, attack your high interest debt. Step 6, invest beyond your 401k. Step 7, build that second income stream. Do it once, and it'll feel awkward. Do it twice, and it'll feel familiar. Do it consistently, and it'll feel like freedom. Are you still going to let your paycheck run your life? Or are you finally going to start running your paycheck? The choice is yours, and it starts right now. If this video opened your eyes and you're ready to take your finances seriously in 2026, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every single week I'm dropping real, practical, no fluff financial content that actually moves the needle. Your future self is counting on the decision you